Hey guys, now look, I got my hat the other way. Man, I just can't make up my mind. All right, so listen, we're gonna go through. We're gonna review that slide deck from Conflict. Okay, it's the same one that we went through earlier in the year. So I'm sure when you see it, you're gonna say, "Oh, I remember this." But I implore you, please still listen to it and stick with it, okay? Because it was the second quarter that we did it, and I got some emails this week from people saying, "Hey, I don't remember this one. I don't. What is that? What is conflict?" So look over watch the video so that we can review this because we're going to use conflict for the remaining part of the year to help us focus on our new topic that's researching. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are. We're on Google Classroom. Show this guys to the previous video. So distance learning, right? Um, so we have our hyperdoc, we have our welcome video, and then here I explain Google Classroom and I explain the hyperdoc. Okay, so this is gonna review this conflict PowerPoint. Okay, you can go through the PowerPoint after we finish the video if you want to review or go over information. That's why I posted it. But additionally, I wanted to go through this to make sure that there were no questions. Okay? And if there are questions, you just got to email me. All right, so conflict. So conflict is the problem in a story, right? We've talked about plot diagram since the first day of school. Every story has a plot, and that plot is focused around a conflict. There has to be a problem, otherwise it's not interesting, right? If we're in class and there's no problem, then class just goes on. It goes on uninterrupted, right? But if I take a student's pencil, then that's a problem. That's a conflict, and that everybody becomes interested in what happens, right? So there's two kinds of conflict. There's internal and there's external. We're going to start with internal. There's only one of those, and then we'll finish with external. There's multiple of those, okay? So what is internal conflict? That's a struggle that takes place within the mind of a character. Okay, it involves a choice or a decision, or it can involve the character's emotions, how they feel. So sad, mad, afraid. Okay, or if they have to make a choice. All right. So look at some examples. So internal conflict, individual versus self. The Hunger Games. Katniss has to decide to take the place of her sister Prim, who's been chosen to represent District 12 in the Hunger Games. If you haven't seen this movie, Prim is a young girl, and if she goes, Katniss knows that if she goes to the Hunger Games, then Prim is going to be killed. So Katniss decides that she needs to volunteer in Prim's place, right? So that was a decision. She had to choose to do that. Nobody made her do that. So that's individual versus self because it was a choice. Okay, so let's talk about external conflicts. So this is when a person faces a problem or struggle outside of themselves. These are the different kinds. This is not in order of how the slides are going to go, by the way. So individual versus individual, individual versus nature, individual versus society, individual versus technology, which is what Fairfax County Public Schools is going through right now, battling Blackboard, and individual versus supernatural. Okay? Individual versus individual. One person or character is in conflict with another person or character. Okay? So Simba has to fight off his brother. Another individual versus individual. Harry fights Voldemort in the Harry Potter series. Look, this is the epitome of battling one versus one, right? Individual versus individual. Individual versus society. A person struggles against the values, customs, or laws of society. Okay, so when somebody's not accepted, you can think about the story we read of Ray Bradbury when the kids were in Venus, right? Margot was not accepted by the other kids because she was raised in Earth while they were all raised in Venus, and they didn't accept her, and therefore they locked her in a closet, or I think it was a locker. Okay. Individual for society, if you've seen Remember the Titans, right? That's about race, and that's about accepting each other, all right? So that would be verse society. Verse nature. If you're looking for a book to read for that individual reading assignment that is on the end at the end of the hyperdoc, this is a really great book. I'll be honest, when I was your age, I didn't read a lot of books either. I could probably count on my one hand the number of books I read like on my own. All right. This book was one of them. It's called Hadget. So this is individual versus nature. So this is when a person has a conflict against nature. So in this book, this boy is going to visit his dad who lives in a really remote part of Canada, and he has to take a small plane to get there, and on the way something happens to the pilot and the airplane crashes, and he is left in the wilderness to try to survive, and all he has is this hatchet, which is it's like a miniature axe. Okay, so Brian has to fight the elements to survive. It's a great book. Individual versus nature. Maybe you've seen this movie, maybe you haven't. It is a little older, but it's a really good movie. It's called Twister. So these are two scientists who study weather, and they basically are battling these dangerous tornadoes, and in the process, so battling nature because tornadoes are nature. Supernatural. So when a person who does not have magical powers or similar powers fights a person who does have magical or supernatural powers. So, for example, Avengers, they fight aliens like Thanos and other aliens like Loki, but that's not supernatural versus individual. That's individual versus individual because are even the good guys have superpowers. Okay, so that would just be individual versus individual. Individual versus supernatural is one person has the powers, everybody else does not. So a good example is this one of my favorite movies, Pirates of the Caribbean. Jack Sparrow fights against the undead pirates, right? These pirates here around are all not alive, but they are also not dead. Okay? But Jack Sparrow here, he is a living person, and he can die while all of them cannot die. All right? Individual versus technology. This is when the main character is in conflict with technology. This is from iRobot, right? Will Smith has to fight against the robots, so technology. All right? Ms. Salter fighting with her laptop, right? So if you're struggling with a computer, this is versus technology, okay? So make sure that you might be battling technology too. Right. Hold on, Micah. Hold on, Micah. I'm sure you can hear my little boy, Micah. All right. So here's what you need to think about. Let's just go through this. We'll practice real quick. So Independence Day. Will Smith fights the aliens who try to invade Earth. Okay? What do you think it is? 3, 2, 1. Yell it out. Individual versus supernatural, right? Will Smith is a regular person who is fighting aliens. Aliens are supernatural. Okay, bring it on. Cheerleaders compete for the top spot. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? 3, 2, 1. Individual versus individual. They're both cheerleaders. So it's individual versus individual. Transformers. People have to fight off the robot cars. What do you think it is? 3, 2. Yell it out. 1. Individual versus technology, because people have to fight off robots. Robot cars are forces of technology. Okay, Llama Llama, red pajama. Llama Llama is afraid to be alone. Versus self, right? So we talked about before feelings. So that feeling of being afraid, there's nobody telling her or making Llama feel afraid. That's internal. Okay? Evan Almighty. Evan has to build an ark to survive the great flood. And say it. All right, individual versus nature. If that's what you said, you are correct. Evan has to build an ark to fight the floods, which are a part of nature. Mulan. Mulan must prove that women can be warriors too. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And ready, say it now. Individual versus society. Mulan is in conflict with society's expectations that women cannot be warriors. She must overcome this stereotype. All right, so that's going to be it for the review. Feel free to go back into this anytime you need review of the material, okay? Because again, as I said at the beginning, we're going to be going over conflict, using conflict to go through our new material of research. All right, so this lesson is always here for you to go back. If you don't remember, wait a minute, what is individual versus supernatural? Come back into the video and check it out. Maybe you don't want to watch the whole thing again. That's fine. Just come back to the part about supernatural. Okay? All right, guys. Great job.